So are we or are we not paying upwards of $450,000 to each family separated at the border? Peter Doocy tried to find out from the President of the United States yesterday, said that there was nothing to this, essentially. Did he get any clarification at the White House today? Peter, did you?
We did. We did, Neil. And to answer your question, are we or are we not paying these illegal immigrants who were separated from family members under the last administration? Are we giving them cash? Not yet, is what I just heard.
The administration paying up to $450,000 to illegal immigrants who are separated from family members. Garbage. He says it's not going to happen. But the ACLU says that it is. So who is right?
If it saves taxpayer dollars and puts the disastrous history of the previous administration's use of zero tolerance and family separation behind us, the president is perfectly comfortable with the Department of Justice settling with the individuals and families who are currently in litigation with the U.S. government.
So today, the president is perfectly comfortable writing checks to these illegal immigrants who are separated from family members under the last administration. That is completely different than what he told me about this time yesterday.
There were reports that were surfacing that your administration is planning to pay illegal immigrants who are separated from their families at the border up to $450,000 each, possibly $1 million per family. Do you think that that might incentivize more people to come over illegally?
If you guys keep sending that garbage out, yeah, but it's not true.
So this is a garbage report?
Yeah.
Apparently it's not a garbage report. The only issue with it is the number. The $450,000 number is apparently a little high. That's what Karine Jean-Pierre told us. The DOJ has communicated to the plaintiffs, to the attorneys representing these illegal immigrants. Neil.
All right. Thank you very much, Peter Doocy, on that reaction right now from Congressman McCaul of Texas. He sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, what do you think?
Well, yeah, the president calls it garbage. ACLU says it's true. Then they backtrack on their story saying, well, you know, we're negotiating. My sources at the Department of Justice tell me that they are negotiating with the ACLU and the plaintiffs in this lawsuit. And I think, you know, after what happened last Tuesday, a resounding message against the Biden administration's policies, particularly when it comes to this wide open border situation we have. And if we, you know, to the deterrent factor, you know, I'm from Texas, and the idea that we're going to tell illegals, hey, come on in, illegally break our laws, and by the way, we could give you up to $1 million per family. What kind of message of deterrence does that really have? And I think that's why they're crawfishing, and they're not really explaining the story, and they probably want it to go away. But this is one of many, Neil, that I think is a disaster for this administration.
Well, Congress, I'm wondering, too, regardless of whether it's 450,000 or 350,000 or 250,000, obviously there's a plan up for payment for families separated. I wonder if it would extend to the same thing that happened in this administration and the precedent it sets.
It's a terrible precedent. And in fact, Neil, we know that there are negotiations going on right now with Speaker Pelosi and the Democrats on the reconciliation bill to actually provide appropriations to pay these settlements that the Justice Department, I think, is trying to negotiate right now, you know, with these plaintiffs. So regardless of what you thought about separation of family, I think it's a principle of you can't break our laws and then win the lottery. And the message of deterrence is pretty much gone. It already has been gone for a long time when he rescinded Remain in Mexico. But then to telegraph, you know, to people in Central and Latin America that you can come in and get $450,000 illegally, $1 million. And this is what really angers the American people. This is why you saw the result you saw last Tuesday. They're tired of these kind of stories. They're tired of what happened in Afghanistan. Now we have a state-sponsored terror state and a wide open border, which in my judgment as former chairman of Homeland is a really prescription for danger.
You know, you mentioned that they're trying to put this in. I assume you were talking about the social spending and climate package that Democrats are moving quickly to get together and mark up and vote on, I guess. But that this feature is going to be tucked into that to pay those who've been separated at the border? Do you know that for sure?
I know those discussions are underway. They don't have the votes. The Democrats, particularly after Tuesday, are in complete disarray. I just got off the floor. Pelosi's trying to count the votes. I don't think she has them right now. But it's things like this that when people hear this, that they're going to give illegals who broke the law money. But also, there's also talks about a massive amnesty program. I don't know if that's going to be in the final bill we vote on or not, but we do know that's being considered, that 10 million people could be granted amnesty in this country. That's the kind of policy I think that's really backfiring on the Democrats and is going to give us a majority in 2022.
Congressman, you did touch on Afghanistan, and I know you and your committee have been looking into this, and now reports that there are thousands of U.S. residents still stuck over there. Can you explain what you discovered? To me, this was the most dishonorable, disgraceful thing I've seen in my professional career, to unconditionally surrender to the Taliban. And then the State Department, we had the Deputy Secretary of State testify yesterday. He admitted that, as much, that they didn't have a plan, they didn't have a strategy to get the American citizens out of there. Neil, I've got these private operations that are going on with active duty and veterans and private funding have given me more information than I've gotten from the State Department. And it's very sad. You see pictures of mothers and their little girls holding up their blue passports, but not able to leave the airport in Afghanistan. And the State Department is doing absolutely nothing to help them. They're left behind, and they're left behind enemy territory with a very dangerous element, the Taliban, not to mention the special forces that worked with our guys and the interpreters that we left behind that are going to have a very bad fate in terms of executions. This story is going to get worse before it ever gets better. And it projects weakness, Neil, not strength. So if you're Russia, China, Iran, you're China looking at Taiwan, you're Russia looking at Ukraine, and he's projecting weakness, you're going to think about whether that's, whether they want to move in and be aggressive. So real quickly on that, Congressman, the administration has now said, even through private means and other means, those people are getting out. Didn't refer to the thousands that you cited, but that they are going to get out, and efforts are still underway. Do you believe that?
I met with these organizations this morning, finally, because of they are meeting to coordinate with them, but it's these private organizations that save thousands, not state. They evacuated along with the rest of the evacuation. State is not there. Right. These private organizations are. They're really enclosing the unsung heroes and the patriots out of this colossal failure of an evacuation from Afghanistan.
Congressman, thank you very much. Keep us posted on this. Michael McCaul of Texas, the Foreign Affairs Committee, looking at twin issues off the border and certainly what continues to unfold in Afghanistan.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.